Hello everyone, it's Angel from Gem TCG, and today's video I'm going to be talking about the concept of failure and how to be okay with it, and then also how to learn from it and just continue improving on your methods or whatever you failed from. And I think this is a very important topic because a lot of people become very scared of failure, and reasonably they get scared of failing, or they don't want to make mistakes because of what the impact might be. And I just want to talk about it because failure is inevitable and it's going to happen whether you want it to or not, whether you're expecting it to or not. And I think the only way to deal with it is to just quickly tackle it rather than let it build up or let it destroy what you're building. Because just for me, I failed in many things. I've tried building a few apps and they all failed. Well, not all of them, obviously TCG Automate, but earlier ones failed. I've tried selling on different platforms and it failed, or at least to my standards it failed. And then I've had a few failures on eBay, if you want to call it that, where I got below standard rating 2 times. I've had some, actually, crazy story. I sold on Amazon before, and they closed down my account and withheld around $16,000 worth of sales that I had that they just did not pay out. And all these things, obviously, they are failures. But the only thing that I did differently that prevented it from completely destroying my business was that I simply did not let it destroy my business. And what I mean by that is that I just kept moving forward and I kept learning from them. Because an easy thing to do when you fail is to give up. And you let's say you tried selling on eBay, you make a few sales, and then one guy says, "Oh, this item never arrived, I need a refund." A lot of people will be like, "Oh, I hate selling on eBay. I'm done with this. I'm throwing in the towel." And honestly, that is what I did when I first started selling on eBay. I was doing TCG Player, Facebook Marketplace, and eBay when I first started. And I tried doing eBay, had a few bad sales happen, and then I stopped for probably a year. I did not go back to eBay. And I regret doing this because obviously if I would have stuck with it, it would have been much better off for the long run. But ultimately, that was the decision I made, and it had a bad impact on, not a bad impact because I still did well, but it prevented me from being more successful earlier on because I gave up on something from failing. And there are a few tips I want to provide that I think will help you when it comes to these things, because failing is, obviously it sucks. You try something and it doesn't work, or you do bad at it. That sucks. And one of the things that sucks about it is if you are letting people know that you are trying these things. So I don't know if this applies to everyone, but this is how I think. If I work on something and it's to myself, nobody knows about it, and I'm just working on it. If it fails, sure, it sucks because I put in all this time and it didn't work. But what is even worse is if I let people know about it while I'm trying the thing, and then it fails, and then I have to let them know that it failed. If they ask about it, I'll be like, "Oh, it didn't work out," or "It failed." Dealing with that is much worse than if you just keep it to yourself. And this applies to if it's people outside of what you're working on. So for trading cards, if I'm selling cards, and I tell somebody that has no idea about what cards are, and then I say, "Oh, I tried making this, or I tried selling this item and then I got scammed and lost $500. If you're telling someone that doesn't really understand it, they're going to think like, "Oh, that sucks," or whatever. But if you're telling people, and this is the tip I want to provide, is that if you have a community of people that are doing what you're doing, it's okay to share it with them. Because if you fail, and you let someone know, you let someone like me know, or another seller, or someone involved in this industry, if you let someone like them know, they will be able to help you with that failure, probably because they already dealt with it themselves. One time, one easy example is someone, and this isn't really a failure, but it's something that they were doing wrong and they weren't even aware of it. It was one of the patrons they were telling me that their shipping costs were $1.30 for just an envelope. And I asked them, why is it $1.30? It should be 74 cents. And then I told them, make sure you're doing 1 ounce instead of 2 ounces when you're doing the eBay standard envelope, because a card is not 2 ounces. You don't need to pay that extra shipping. And then they were like, wow, I didn't even realize I was doing this. And that just saved them from continuing, I guess, failing. It's not really a failure, but making that mistake. And there's more examples I just can't think of off the top of my head. But what I'm kind of getting at is, and not even to promote this, but to just let you guys know of things like this, which is the TCG Automate Discord, because there are so many people in there every day asking questions, saying, oh, I had this buyer did this to me, or this buyer is trying to do this, how should I handle it? And there are people willing to help each other. And I think that is a great thing. And even when someone messes up on something and they reach out in the Discord about it, someone will teach them how to do it properly. And I think it is very important to have a close-knit community of people that do the same thing as you, because it's much harder to learn if you have to learn everything yourself. And that, I don't even know if this is a quote that I heard, and it's like, smart people learn from their own failures, and really smart people learn from other people's failures. And I don't know if I agree fully with that quote, but I think it's very important to learn not just from your own failures, because if I had to fail for everything that I've learned, it would be insane. But if I can learn from what other people have already learned from and failed from, it can make you a better seller and better in any regard. It will make you better than if you were to just rely on learning it all yourself through your own experience. And that's not to negate that learning from your own experience is bad or anything, but I think it's actually very important to learn from your own experience. But you can speed it up by also learning from how other people have failed. And the next thing I want to talk about is something that I heard from the creator of LinkedIn. And actually, I think it was him, but he was saying something about how he was working on something for 6 months and then it failed. And his response to it when people would ask him was like, oh, I learned from it. And he was talking about how a lot of people use that concept as almost a cop-out to say whenever they fail, they just learned from it. And his question to it is like, why did it take you this long to learn from it? Why didn't you learn from it in half the time? Why did it take you 6 months to learn that you failed on something? And I think that is a very important thing to be aware of, because failures happen all the time, but don't get yourself caught up in the rhythm of, or the habit of saying, oh, I learned from this failure. And it took you all this time or all this money to learn from that one failure. Because if you are more, I guess, alert or aware of what's going on, you should try to learn from these things faster than just letting it build up and keep going at it. And then all of a sudden, once you're ready to give up, you go, oh, it's a failure, but I learned from it. So if you run into situations like that, I'd say try to catch it early and learn from it early. Don't let it just continue growing and continue being bad, getting worse, and then at the way end, you decide to learn. So I guess learn fast and then iterate on what you're learning, because you're not going to know exactly what to do right away. You might think like, oh, this thing that I'm doing with the shipping is not efficient and I'm wasting a lot of money on it or whatever. And then act on it right away. Don't wait 2 months from then and be like, let me now try to figure out a way to make my shipping cost lower or make my shipping time faster, things like that. Try to improve constantly and quickly. And I think you will be very happy with the results if you do that with everything in your life and in your business. So overall, to sum it up, I'd say keep things to yourself if you can. unless you're talking with other sellers or other people in the realm of what you're doing. And if you do fail, don't be afraid to call it and jump off the bad movement or whatever, and then just redirect and try something else. Because it's one thing to fail and then try something to not fail, but then it's another thing to be failing and just accept that you're failing and keep doing it. Because with that, you're stuck. You're not going to improve anything if that's how you act or if that's how you are. So that's about it for this video. Hopefully you guys found it helpful, and I will see you all in the next video.